I can do my January shows. It's happening January 22nd, Naples, Florida. January 23rd, Boca Raton, Florida. Boy, I think these sets are really going to be very interesting. I think I would come to these shows if I were you. It could. I mean, there is some possibility that it will just be me screaming. There is a possibility, or I might just get off the stage and sit down at one of your tables and be like, "You will not believe what I have been through," because I have some stuff going on that I can't talk about on the podcast. But it's very serious. I would say it's about as I mean, you know what's going on. Okay. I would say it's like 80% as serious as the cancer diagnosis. Is that 70 to
yeah.
Okay. She didn't have to think about it. Now, I can't go into it. And I'm so sorry to say that, because I know that's annoying. If I heard that on someone's podcast I followed, that would shut down the rest of my day, because I'd be like, I will find out. Yeah. I will find out what you're not telling us. I think it's not out there. I think you can't. You could be best researcher in the world. You won't be able to find it. But so I realize that's annoying that I say I have something pretty major going on that I can't talk about other than the cancer. God was like, it's not enough. Had like aggressive metastatic cancer for one of your kids. It's not enough. We need something that's like really big for you to go into at the same time. And I know how annoying that is. So here's what I will do. I can't talk about it for the sake of privacy of my family, but I think it's like how the CIA, you know, how they declassify after, it's like after 50 years, they declassify. I know that from Taylor Swift lyrics. Tortured Poets Department. But they do, the CIA declassifies things after a certain amount of time. I feel like 5 years is enough. I feel like I can talk about things that happened 5 years ago, especially if I do a little bit of, you know, make this story a little slightly anonymous. So tell you what, the first podcast episode of the year of our Lord 2030, it's grab your whiskey, grab your, you know, crack pipe, like whatever you need. It's going to be a doozy where I will tell you, I will wait to January 2030 and I will tell you everything that happened in 2025, and you will not be able to believe your ears. Now, here, the reason I bring this up is because in the coming weeks, I might talk about things like stress management, about how not to completely implode when you have had more and bigger problems in the past 12 months than some people experience in their entire lifetimes cumulative. And I just want you to know that you're hearing from the world's expert.
Yeah.
Caitlin, do you know anyone, like in your broadest friends of coworkers, cousins, who are dealing with anything bigger in total with everything that's going on with me than I am?
Not even a fraction.
Not even like is there a close second?
No.
There's not.
No.
So it's important to me that you guys know that you're hearing from the world's expert on life and problem management. The second thing is, let me use this to sell a few more tickets to my shows, because I'm under an amount of pressure and stress where I could snap. There is a non-zero chance, like not. It's not impossible. Well, let me back up. My two Florida shows will be the only thing that resembles a vacation for me that I have had in the past, I don't know, year, and that I probably will have. My life is about to get very hard and very dark. I mean, not that it's not already, but like with the chemo and the St. Jude's and everything. So it's funny that the thing I do for work is like, that will be my vacation when I'm doing it on the 22nd and the 23rd in Florida. There is a chance, and I'm not kidding, that I will either start drinking or something, and I will snap and I'll just let it all out. And it won't even be stand-up comedy. The staff at the comedy club will be like, this is different. Yeah. Like, should we call 911? Like, not for what's happening here, but for what's happening in our life at home. And like, what? I mean, it could, the clubs always promote me like to people who have never heard of me. There could be some random people who've never heard of me. They're like, I'd like a little humor. I'd like a little comedy on January 22nd, January 23rd, who are like scarred for life, like after they come to this. So I would, if I were you, I would 100% come to these shows. And again, I am sorry to tell you that there's something going on that I can't tell you, but I normally try not to do that. I find it very annoying when the people who I have a parasocial relationship to on their podcast do that. But it's like, I can't not have that be known any longer. And I get, part of it is like if you see my mugshot on the internet or anything, like if things go south with me and I really, go like fall off a cliff mentally, it wasn't just the cancer. Okay. I want credit. It wasn't just the cancer. Okay. So anyway, here's what we're talking about today. I'm just going to share more updates of what's going on with us, what it's like, fighting this massive battle, things I have learned. As always, I try to tailor it in a way that hopefully you guys can take away things from my Norse saga of a quote unquote life that you can apply to your own lives. So hopefully you will not ever deal with the stuff that we're dealing with. Okay. Dogs randomly barking are not, I don't know if our mics pick that up, but see, I need drugs. Listen, and I know I'll get banned from YouTube for saying this, but I mean like whatever people on the street are doing, like I'm done with this. Like, man, of all the horrible things that modern feminism has done, of that long list, the worst is that they spoke out against how doctors used to give frazzled housewives Valium. They were like, you need to respect us and not just shut us up with a bottle of Valium. Ruining our lives once again. Like, no, you know what? I should be like, I'm starting a watchdog group for doctors who don't listen to women's stories and just try to shut them up with drugs. So could I get names? Who's doing that? I will make an undercover appointment and see if they'll give me drugs. Okay. So if we could get the dog to stop loudly and terrifyingly barking outside my podcast door, that would be great. We could continue with this episode. What was I saying, Caitlin? I was saying
literally about your Norse saga, and
then my Norse saga of a life. I'm not just complaining on this podcast. I try to make it like has something relevant, that you might be able to take away. And one of the things that stays in my mind with that is I always took note when I knew someone who went through a crisis. If they said, hey, I did this thing that really worked, I always thought, I'm tucking this away. I hope I will never be in a crisis situation like they are. But I tucked it away just in case. And I will say that some of the decisions that we made with the cancer situation that have greatly improved, prognosis and possible outcomes were because I tucked certain things away. So I recommend just listen closely to my experience. I pray to God that this is totally irrelevant to your life. But just in case you're also on the Norse saga track at any point, I might have some interesting things for you to say. We will also talk about New Year's resolutions, why you tend not to keep up with them, and the idea of I think a lot of you guys carry a lot more stress than you realize, and it's not your fault. So hopefully I will be able to get to all of that. If there's any I miss, we'll do it in the next episode. And speaking of New Year's habits, I just want to give you a preview because it'll probably be towards the end of the podcast that we get to that. If you feel like your dreams for 2026 are impossible, I just want to show you this man I just discovered, Cam Brown. He wanted to work out, but I think a gym membership doesn't make sense for him financially right now. Probably not even stocking up on all the equipment. Would you look at what this man is doing?
But yeah, then we grab a 30 for these overhead tricep extensions.
Okay. But turn the volume of that one down, Caitlin.
I had to wait for that lady to pass. I don't know why she was whispering.
Okay.
Anyways,
this is Cam Brown 28 underscore on Instagram.
I don't know.
This guy he just goes to Walmart and works out in Walmart, and you can see this as always in the show notes. You can click through and to the YouTube link. It will take you directly to this episode. It's all free, everything. So
they're pretty sloppy.
This guy goes to his local Walmart and just does his workout there, and you can see in these videos people are walking by and stuff like that. So what is your excuse? What's your excuse? I love it. So we'll get to that later. Okay, this is the Jen Fulwiler Show coming to you from Austin, Texas. This is the podcast where I don't even know what this podcast is anymore. So heretofore, it has been the podcast of where you learn the art of the village hustle. That is being a hot girl boss or hot boy boss who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. Our lovely producer is Caitlin White. We publish new episodes every Wednesday morning, except for when my life is collapsing. And I love my Patreon community. It is where I share a little more. The big thing that I mentioned earlier, I still can't. I can't go into that one even on Patreon, but I do share some more private details about what's going on with this cancer battle and more behind the scenes things that I don't want on Google. I don't want my kids' friends to see, that sort of thing. And eventually I'm going to get back to like I used to share more concrete, like how I run my life and business and all that behind the scenes tips. And I think pretty soon I'm going to get back to that as well. So patreon.com/thisisjen is where you look that up. And as soon as you join, you get instant access to all the archives, the live that I did with Leanne, you get instant access to all that. Patreon.com/thisisjen. I do want to briefly bring up something serious I've sort of avoided because I didn't want to drag anyone else into the mess that is, this podcast. I'm good friends with Paul J. Kim and his wife Maggie, and many of you know that their son Micah passed away. Oh, no. He did you see that?
No, I didn't see it.
Okay. So the reason I thought you might have seen it, Caitlin, is People magazine has been covering it.
Oh, wow.
NBC news and all that. And it's really it's been very intense. It's been horrific. I don't have words. I just don't have words for that situation. But Paul and Maggie, their example of faith has been extraordinary. And I want to show you something that God did here. And I didn't plan to bring this up. Okay, I texted this to Paul. Hang on. Let me pull this up. Okay. So his faith has been so extraordinary. Us magazine, like the celebrity gossip magazine, in their celebrity section was covering the incredible battle that his 5-year-old son Micah fought. He was only 5 years old. And he had been in ICU and he'd been not doing well, but everyone was hoping and everyone was praying. So Us Weekly covered it, and they quoted what Paul had been saying online. And so this quote right here was in Us Weekly, the celebrity rag. Listen to this. So they're quoting Paul J. Kim here. Paul had said at this time, Micah's scans are showing that his brain activity is not present. He is receiving the anointing of the sick at the 3 p.m. hour when divine mercy redeemed us all. We humbly ask that you join us in praying for a miracle through the intercession of Archbishop Fulton Sheen. And then they went on to for other quotes. I mean, look at what Micah is already doing. Look at what God is already doing through Micah. That you have, talking about the hour of divine mercy, Christ redeeming us all, these quotes getting in Us Weekly, the celebrity magazine. I just want to say that I'm just blown away by the Kim family, by Paul Kim, by his wife Maggie. They have been absolutely amazing, and they live right near here. They live about like 6 miles away from us. They've been over here for dinner. Micah's been over here for dinner. I've been to their house. They're a beautiful family, and I hadn't brought it up earlier because how do you transition from that to the mess that is this podcast? But keep praying for them. And what it got me thinking about, and I'm going to speak about this topic more broadly because I don't want to associate, any of my crazy takes with that beautiful, wonderful family, is it taught me something about the collective grief and the collective stress that you need to manage when your family hits a crisis. It was an interesting thing that we had just been through our crisis, where it was on October 6th is when I announced that my daughter has been diagnosed with an aggressive cancer. It spread stage 3. It's a big deal. It's a big fight. And it's funny, Paul and I had been in communication about that. He sent us a very generous gift, and they were praying for us. And then when this happened with Micah just a couple of months later, suddenly I was on the other side of it. And suddenly I felt their crisis triggered in me the kind of this existential grief and helplessness and powerlessness. And I actually don't think it was because of the cancer situation. I think it is an existential thing that every human experiences. When you hear about someone that whether it's them in person, or even if you have a questionable relationship to their public presence and follow them a little too closely, as I do with a few people, it's a normal human thing that it brings up something very deep and very powerful within you that is hard to control. Suddenly, with the Kim situation, I was wanting to do everything that I knew was annoying from having. I mean, I'm still on the other side of it. It's like I wanted to text them 5 times a day with all of my thoughts, that I wanted to show up at the hospital, even though I had not been asked to do so. And it's like it was causing me grief and pain not to be given something to do. And there's almost a feeling when you are on the other side of it, you care so much, and your powerlessness becomes so unbearable that it's almost like you need the person who is in the crisis, in the victim situation, to help you out, help you process this. And I really felt that. And it was a very strange thing to be on the other side of it, even though I had just and am still in a massive, life-threatening, very grief-striking crisis of my own. And it has helped me understand on a deeper level that when a crisis hits your family, you kind of have to accept it as part of the cross, that you will need to help other people manage these existential feelings of despair and powerlessness that come up within them, and that you need to have patience with them, with people texting you things that, saying things that are frankly a little bit annoying, and maybe being a little too aggressive about trying to help, showing up when you didn't ask them to show up, and now they're making conversation with you. And it's you just don't let it add to your stress, I guess is what I'm saying, because it did add to my stress a little bit at first when people were just saying dumb stuff to me. And there were just some situations that I was like, "But do you think this is a good time?" And but it has helped me now understand that when a crisis or a tragedy strikes your family, it's like you become part of the collective grief of the human race and loss of the human race, and just plan on that, accept it, and realize that you have been sort of thrust into a leadership role, whether you want to be or not. And I know it's like you're the victim, you're the person who needs help, but I think it will help you get through it to just kind of accept I'm going to need to be a little bit of a leader here, whether that looks like choosing a friend and saying everything goes to this friend. If you want to know how you can help, like what we need, just don't ask me, ask this friend. That would have been helpful to me if I had understood that going into it. Now, to transition to another topic. Now, this is separate from all of that. Here's one thing I'm not going to have peace with. I'll never have peace with. I unless I have like very deep, possibly inpatient psychiatric care with a cancer diagnosis in particular, or some sort of major medical situation. Should you ever be in this situation, here's what you're going to find. You will suddenly be surrounded by the most confidently wrong group of people. I am... Every day, someone says something new to me where their confidence is at a 10 and their correctness is at a 0, but their wrongness is at a 10. But they're so confident about it. Now, I don't mind at all people sharing like, hey, you might want to check this out. You might want to think about this. No problem. I want to be clear. I am not talking about that. I am talking about people condescending to me, talking down to me, lecturing me, and in a couple of cases implying that I am not being a good mother and not managing Lane's cancer care properly if I am not taking, it's usually diet advice. Like if I am not taking the diet advice that they give me, I'm especially with the mysterious other, we need an acronym for it. The other situation, TOS, the other situation. With I'm just going to snap at some point. People lecturing me about if you don't have her on the keto diet, then blah blah blah. And again, if you are someone who emailed me and suggested the keto diet, I'm not. Most people are just like, hey, you might want to check this out. I am talking about the people who have lectured me and again implied that like I desire for this cancer to get worse if I'm not suggesting to Lane that she get on the keto diet. And it's like nobody knows what they're talking about. They're like, this worked with my uncle who had toe cancer. It's like, okay, well, toe cancer is very different than central nervous system cancers, especially pediatric central nervous system cancers. It's like these, like if you were to say to these people, hey, Micken amplification is a pretty big problem here. That's probably the biggest problem. We're trying to get it under control. Like, what do you think about? They don't even know what that word means. And yet they're lecturing me about, like, one thing to know for those of you who are, hit the tangent alert sound effect. You guys, I'm going to snap. It's going to happen.
So loud.
Okay. My husband just started a Star Wars movie. I mean, it is appropriate that you have this like dramatic planets colliding.
I don't know. It's ridiculous.
It's so like, Caitlin, being friends with me shouldn't be free. I mean, I feel like there should be shouldn't. Like, recurring, like, hey, the $200 a month, getting a front row seat. It does come with popcorn. Okay. And we have a lot of new listeners. That we call this door in my podcast studio the Poltergeist door from the famous movie of the 1980s where this little girl, there were demons in her closet. There was an entire other demonic realm out in her closet door, and it would like glow and it would make noise because there's this whole other poltergeist dimension outside of her door. And that's why we call this the poltergeist door, because my door is exactly like that. It's like because you might think like, oh, Jen's recording a podcast. Oh, but no, it's like we have barking dogs. We have, I mean, I guess what Joe did is he just sat on the volume button. Like, does it go to 200? Let's find out. All right, hit the Star Wars intro music. Okay, well, I actually remember what I was saying. Hit the tangent over sound effect. I'm finding my inner peace, guys. I'm finding my inner peace. Man, I'm telling you, I'm gonna snap. Like I would follow me. I would follow me because like I'm part of some kind. This is a Truman Show situation, I think, where some scientists, unbeknownst to me, are seeing what like at what point does a person psychologically snap. And I'm going to find out later. TOS, the other situation, like that was all just a joke. Lane doesn't really have cancer. This is just like part of a psychological situation to see at what point someone becomes a serial killer and a drug addict, like, and just snaps and like it goes. So like if you pull up this podcast and I'm like stripping naked with a bottle of vodka, because then I'd get some views, I could like monetize it before I get kicked off of YouTube. Like it could, it's happening probably. And it might happen at my Florida shows, honestly. There's a little different type of entertainment there. So anyway, make an amplification. People who don't even know what that means lecture me, condescend to me about the different like diet stuff I need to be doing. And to give you an analogy, so this type of cancer, it's an embryonic cancer. It comes from developmental cells, like way back, like origin story, very beginning, as opposed to adult cells that went bad. Some kind of cancers are like that. It's like an adult cell that went bad. This is not that. This was like written at the very beginning. Like there was a little typo in the DNA, and this kind of cancer couldn't care less what kind of fuel it used. You starve it of sugar, it can use ketones just fine. And then and then like if someone's on the keto diet, that can negatively impact the particular type of chemo regimen that they use to treat groups 3 and 4 medulloblastoma. And you want to be so careful playing around with keto and stuff for CNS, central nervous system cancers, because of having the brain switch to running on glucose, but mainly because of the chemo, the way it can impact chemo. But they just like lecture me. Oh, she needs to be on the chemo diet and the keto chemo diet. It's okay. So it's kind of, it would be like if stopping many cancer, like your typical colon cancer, I think, let's see, some types of breast cancer, that sort of thing. If that is like stopping a 1950s Chevrolet, this is a Tesla Cybertruck. It's just like you can put sugar in the gas tank, or it's like it doesn't have a gas tank. It's a cyborg. It's like in the movies, where the sci-fi movies where they think they're fighting carbon-based beings, and then they realize, oh no, it's a cyborg army. There's like, this is just, they are fueled by different things than we thought. That's what medulloblastoma is, like this particular type of medulloblastoma, where it's like fighting a cyborg. It's like it's just a different game than a lot of cancers. And it's like, no one even Googles it. I just think, listen, if I were planning to lecture someone and tell them they were a bad parent if they don't do XYZ, I might just Google it. I might just be like keto diet and like that type. I might, but some people, they don't. They just confidently wrong. So 2 things will happen if you ever have a crisis that is in particular a health crisis. You will need to help other people manage their grief and their sense of powerlessness that they don't know what to do with. Sorry, it's part of the cross. And it will actually lower your stress if you can accept that the leadership role that has been put upon you here. And then the second thing is, just prepare yourself for how confidently wrong everyone is. Everyone just has all the answers. And I think it is, in a way, it's a protective mechanism that they're like, if she just takes some B vitamins, I think we can get this, like, this will be fine. And they want to believe that, so that if it ever, like, there's a psychological mechanism that I know the real answer here, and I'm not even going to do one Google search to see if, like, there's any truth to this, so that if it ever happens to me, I'll get a good outcome, because I can control this, because I know, we'll just take some herbs, a little bit of B vitamins, keto, carnivore diet, and then it won't happen to me, and then I'll be able to solve it. And I think that's where that comes from. And I think it actually kind of has the same genesis, that people don't like the secondhand powerlessness that they feel when you are going through a crisis, and they're going to vent it on you in weird ways. And some of them might even do it in annoying ways. So now, that said, again, I cannot possibly be more clear that when people send me things just saying, you might want to check this out, that I'm not talking about that. I am talking about people who have lectured me and been very condescending. So I always think more data is better. So if you have something that's interesting, sure, send it along. Just don't lecture me and tell me that I'm a bad parent if I don't do it when you haven't even Googled medulloblastoma. Hit the brief tangent alert. What I was thinking as I was prepping this episode was, I had forgotten that I had actually been to MD Anderson before this, because my family was one of the founding families in the Lynch syndrome colon cancer study. It's called HNPCC, and it is a genetic type of colon cancer. And did I ever tell you this, Caitlin? That it's kind of interesting that there was so much colon cancer in my family that somehow MD Anderson. No, it's kind of, well, you know what? We can laugh at this because it's not bad cancer. Yeah. It's like my dad had it, and my grandmother had it. Like, my grandmother, she had uterine cancer, colon cancer, whatever. That's not what she died of. She died of Alzheimer's. So it does not tend to be aggressive cancer. It does not tend to be difficult to treat. It can actually often even be treated by surgery. Sometimes you don't even need chemo or radiation. But there had been so much cancer in my family that they somehow found us. I don't know how they got around HIPAA with that. And so when I remember when I was pregnant with my first child, I went down to MD Anderson because they wanted to see if I had it, because then they would track me and just see if and when I got cancer and what type of cancer and all that. And what's interesting is they showed me this massive family tree, this huge thing with geographic, like, where people lived. And they had the names blurred out, obviously, but it all goes back to one man who immigrated from Hesse, Hesse, Germany. I've not been able to find this on a map, but it all goes back to this one guy. But it's responsible for something like 10% of all colon cancer cases. Wow. But like we are all related to that same guy. So if you have Lynch syndrome or HNPCC, we are distant relatives. Now, so I will never forget when they called me with that. They said, we have your results and we found out, if you have the gene. If I did have the gene, I would 100% get cancer, uterine and maybe stomach and colon for sure. But maybe for women, it can be worse. And I was like, okay, let's do it. What is the verdict? And I'll never forget. It was a female researcher. She called me. She called me at 11:30. So I was just waking up, if we are being honest, because she was like, did I wake you up? I was like, no, it's allergies. Just crazy. This time she's like, really? It seems like I'm waking you up. But it's 11:30. Like, who would? And she was like, you don't have it. And since I don't have it, I cannot pass it on. It's one of those that you can't pass it on if you did not get it. So now I have 2 copies of Factor 2. So I wasn't all genetically fine, but I have a blood clotting disorder. But yeah, it was just really interesting. That was this like kind of before and after moment in my life where with that call, I was finding out like if I am definitely going to get these types of cancers. And she said, you don't have it. You can't pass it on. You're done. You're clear. And I went back to sleep. I was like, all right, well, no more of these early morning calls. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So we are distant relatives. If you or your family has HNPCC, Lynch syndrome, colon cancer. Okay. So enough of that. You can hit the done tangent. Let's see. I think, okay, let's start talking about habits because obviously it's the new year. A lot of people are, trying to level up their lives, trying to, think about how they're going to do, make improvements. And I'm telling you, I'm obsessed with this guy, Cam Brown, who's going to Walmart and doing his workouts. And some people might say he's probably just doing that for social media. He's probably not really doing it. I buy it 100% because this is something my husband would do and I might do. Both of us we are missing the parts of our brain that would normally tell you that like, yes, you want this result, but you shouldn't do XYZ to get that result. They're just some, you need to stick within these social constraints and you have to get this result, within these social constraints. My husband is 10 out of 10 in terms of this does not concern him at all. I'm probably 8 out of 10 in that area. So like, Joe, would he not do that? If he decided that he wanted to work out and we couldn't afford weights and he couldn't afford a gym membership, would he not go down to Walmart and just...
Oh yeah, he would. And he would have zero remorse.
Zero remorse. I don't think he minds if I tell this story, but he doesn't listen to this podcast. So, and he has Star Wars playing so loud outside the door that I don't think he'll hear me. One of the first stories I heard about him. So the way my husband and I met is we worked together and I heard some people talking about him and they knew him from business school. And they said, yeah, he was the guy. He always brought some gourmet cheese and a thermos of wine and like a nice kind of crystal glass and earplugs to class. And this was at elite top business school. And they were like, he would have wine and cheese during the lecture. But what I clued in on is I said, well, what about, I asked him one time, again, he wasn't even a friend at this point. He was just a coworker. I said, why would you do the earplugs? And he said, well, the professors annoyed me with their, blah, blah. They're talking. I was like, but that's, you're in school. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I'm paying for the school. I mean, they're like consultants to me. I can choose to listen to them or not listen to them. And sometimes I wanted to do a bit of reading and have some wine and cheese and I just didn't want that distraction. And I was like, that's so insane. And he was like, no, I mean, I would read on the topic. I mean, I'm not like crazy. And that was one of the first conversations I had with the man who is now my husband. And I was like, that's insane. Okay. One other story on that. We had some big executives. So we worked at a tech startup and these VCs, the venture capitalists were funding it. And these people had the power to have us all fired instantly because they were the ones with the purse strings. And, like these guys were in their 40s, so old. And, they were these gray haired, like businessmen. I was just out of college. Joe was still in his 20s, barely at this point. And so there was this kind of like, we were the young startup people and they were the gray haired, established people. So everyone was so nervous. I mean, we had all dressed up and I was minding my P's and Q's and looking very busy. And they were doing, whoever was driving these guys from the airport would, I guess we weren't texting at that time. They would call or something and be like, okay, we're getting close, everybody. And it was this, all right, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. All right. Security says they're in the building. And we were all so tense. I look over at Joe. It was an open office. It wasn't like cubicle, so you could see everyone. Joe was asleep. with his like earplugs in. And these guys walked in, and the also kind of young executives who were here in the Austin office, they hadn't seen it, and they walk over, and they were like, "Oh, this is Joe," like hitting, and the VCs were like, "Are we interrupted?" Like, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't have anything to do." So, and the executives were like, "No, that's not true." And then Joe later pointed out, again, logic. He was like, well, if you have caught up on all of your tasks and there's nothing urgent that you need to do in this block of time, it can actually help you be motivated and do better work later to just get a bit of a nap. And I was like, but the VCs, and he was like, well, that was my best time to nap. So that tangent is to establish, I think this guy's really working out at Walmart, because he probably has a temperament like my husband's, where like he doesn't understand like any sense of, people don't do, like, you shouldn't, it's not illegal, but you should still, like, you shouldn't do it. Okay. So play, I don't know, Caitlin, just play one of the other videos of this guy, Cam Brown 28 _ is his Instagram handle. But play this other video of Cam working out at Walmart.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to day 17 of working out at Walmart every day until I get jacked.
All right, guys, so we're back at our home gym today. We're going to head inside, grab some wipes, and head on over to the weights. I did ask ChatGPT to make me a workout again today, so we got a good one planned. It's going to be a full body workout, and it's going to be split into 5 different blocks. For this first block, we're going to start with some goblet squats.
I mean, even if you think he doesn't do it every day, he's doing a long workout here on Instagram and filming it. Okay, go ahead.
And I grabbed a 50-pound kettlebell and did 10 or 12 of those. Then had to get out of the way for this guy. I'm not sure why, because he didn't want anything. Just wanted to be in my way, but it's all right. Next up, we got these reverse lunges. I grabbed 2.
Okay,
I want to say 30.
I think there's kind of a second point here of those of you who are self-conscious about going to the gym. I mean, imagine doing your lunges in Walmart aisle 12. I mean, that's, at least in a gym, you're supposed to be working out there. This is incredible. So there's another video, the one that we haven't played, I guess it's video 2, where he's sitting on the ground doing that, like the row style movement, and he has to get out of the way for a lady. This I have to meet this man. Like, I must know him. This is amazing.
And then I seen some people coming, so I just got out of the way for him.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah, we're moving right along. We finished out that last set real quick, and then we're gonna get right on.
He's
to the
on
next
his
exercise.
back on the Walmart floor.
Now, if I had to guess, I would say this is probably called a shoulder press. I don't know though. Like I said, I didn't have help with my workout today.
No, I'm sorry.
I don't think anybody does.
I should.
Comments are so funny. I screenshotted some of the comments. One guy was like, go big or go home. Why don't you just open up one of the benches and and like get your bench? I mean, like, why stop there? And I was like, what? We have a whole community of future friends for me in this comment section. These are I'm telling you, I would click with all of the. I don't care what age, background there. I click with people who think like this. Another person said, I hate it when people film their workouts at the gym, but I strongly approve of filming your workout at Walmart. But it is kind of funny. Like, that is an annoying thing to do at the gym, but somehow it's iconic. Okay, another one. Someone says, I'm going to try this at Mattress Firm and see how long they let me sleep. Wait, let's not stop there.
Yeah, right.
I could go to like a furniture depot store and hold business meetings in like where they have the desk furniture. Be like, they'll be, ma'am, do you need any help? I'm sorry, this is a private meeting. Excuse me. If you could just roll this chair closer. Thank you. This is so funny. And then this other guy says, I work the graveyard shift at Walmart. For lunch while everyone is taking a nap, I chill in that part of the sporting goods section and get a good workout in. Incredible. So another person says, throw all the weights in a cart and push it around the store a few times for endurance.
Wow. That's
actually
smart.
not a bad idea. You could put all the weights in the, that's a great, and act like you're going to buy them. And then when you unload them, I mean, that's strength. I mean, I was kind of covering this as a bit, but the more I think of it, I'm like, whoa,
smart.
now wait a minute. Well, and also Lane's still recovering from brain surgery. She can't walk without a walker. And we might be heading on down to, because if I put a whole bunch of weights in a shopping cart.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm not even kidding. We might actually be doing this. Okay. So, and then someone says, when you get kicked out, are you going to another store? He says, definitely. Someone else says, I'm running a group training session here on Saturdays at 9 a.m. All right, another person says, optimal use of free will. Why don't you unbox a bench to your chest? Take it to the next level, bro. This is your gym now. Amazing. And that's what you love about Walmart too, is it's like with the people of Walmart, it's like that's the least crazy thing that anyone has done in a while. Like that's totally fine. Because at Target, they're probably not going to let you do that.
No.
But like dollar store, Walmart, like these are places that they're going to let you do it. Okay, so this is a guy who is committed to his goals. So let's take a little bit of that inspiration for ourselves for the new year. Are you sure there's no way to get it? Are you sure? Well, especially for those of you who have little kids, put them in the cart, add some weights, push them around. I mean, listen, there are ways to think outside the box here. But I want to do my reminder that I do once every few months about habits. You can take down the video, Caitlin. Especially for our new listeners, this is a big theme of mine. I'm always looking at life and our lives as busy parents, as many of us are Catholic on this podcast, just like people trying to live good lives, have good families, that sort of thing. I'm always looking at it within the greater context of society, human history, that sort of thing, because I think it helps us understand some of the pressures that are on us that might be invisible to us because it's such a natural part of our environment. Here's what I mean by this. I don't believe that humans were designed to keep up habits by their own personal free will alone. That has just never in human history until the past couple hundred years been a thing. Humans, for all of human evolution, since God sent forth the first, our first parents, I mean, in the hundreds of thousands of years since then, humans lived in tribes. I mean, we had to for necessity, for survival. And that is how we have evolved. That is how we have designed to live. And so things like getting exercise, keeping your house tidy, getting the water for the house, doing the laundry, like the washing the clothes, mending the clothes, whatever. These were always tribal activities. They were communal activities. And it was just that time of day when the women of the tribe went down to the river to wash the clothes, to get water, whatever, for safety. They would always do it together. The kids would run around in a group. Watching the children was a community thing. It wasn't all on one mom. And our brains simply were not designed to do all sorts of habits based on sheer willpower alone. Now, certainly there are some habits that we get done on our own without a tribe because there is a major downside to not doing them. If you never shower, never brush your teeth, there are some very palpable, visceral downsides to that you are going to experience that motivate you. They give you a natural motivation to make sure that habits like that are getting done. But habits like going to the gym, it's really any habits that are bringing a nice to have, but not absolutely necessary benefit into your life are going to be very, very hard to keep up. And it is not because you're lazy. It is not because you lack commitment. It is not because you have not read Atomic Habits. It's not because you haven't listened to enough Tim Ferriss and Huberman and Lex Friedman and those guys. It's not any of that. It's that your brain wasn't designed to have your habits fueled only by your own personal willpower. And that is why anything you've probably ever tried to do that would be a big change, but again, there's not like a massive downside if you don't do it. You probably didn't keep up with it for more than a year or so because life got in the way and you were trying to do something that you weren't really designed to do. Now, that could sound depressing. Like, what? So am I saying just give up? Like, just don't do anything ever? No. I think the best way to approach this, as someone who has gotten a lot done in life, fighting a lot of battles, many battles over here, in addition to, I wrote 3 books in the midst of having 6 babies in 8 years. They're very well reviewed. They're, some of them were bestsellers, whatever. I know a few things about getting things done when it is kind of impossible to have your perfect habits. And what I would strongly recommend to you is to accept that your motivation will be temporary and cyclical, and stop looking at that as something that you don't see coming. Stop looking at that as a personal flaw and just accept it as part of life. Let's say you just joined a gym. January 1st, you're starting your gym membership. I think you'll probably keep up with it for a few months. And then, like many people, you will likely stop going. And when you realize that you're not going as much, you're probably about to stop, you're probably about to cancel it, rather than seeing it as a failure, rather than saying, oh, see, look, I'm a loser. I'm not like Tim Ferriss at all. Like he's, I'm not keeping up with my Atomic Habits, that sort of thing. You say, yep, this is what happens when you don't live in a village, where it's not like the village isn't going to the gym as part of a core survival exercise. This is just what happens. And so now I need to find just something new to do, something different. Novelty can certainly be kind of a carrot stick that keeps us interested in the things that we're trying to do. So maybe you cancel that gym membership and you join Cam at Walmart. Play that first one again with him in the white sweatshirt. Again, there's a link that goes directly to YouTube. Maybe you do this. Maybe you're like, you know what? Working out at Walmart actually sounds so crazy to me that I think I can keep up with that commitment for a couple of months.
12 of these.
Iconic. This is just amazing. This is just amazing. And you see, if you watch this on YouTube, like the lady, walking right in front of him. Amazing. So, and then when you get tired and like the security finally tasers you at Walmart, or one of the Walmart people, assaults you or something. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen at a Walmart. Then you find something else. Like one of the, at one point, one of my phases with fitness is I got really into jump roping. And by that, I don't mean I actually jumped rope. I'll show you in my Amazon order history. I bought 3 books on jump roping. I literally did. I'll bring them. I need to have, I need to put them on my, I'll stack them. I'll put them in the podcast background. I really will. And I know so much about jump roping. I did not actually jump rope. I did for like 2 days. And then I didn't, but I bought a lot of books on it. So that's another thing you could do. You could buy some books on running. I bought 2 books on running, by the way. I'm not kidding. I did books on how to run. Caitlin, like, how much do you run? Like, it shouldn't be free being friends with me. How is this podcast free? How is knowing me free? But what's a recent amount that you have run?
10 miles.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy. If you stacked all the pages of books that I've read about running, I mean, there'd probably be like a mile. Now, I haven't run a whole lot, but I got very motivated from those books. So anyway, but this is how I think you should approach. This is how you should approach your habits. I think is accept that. Yeah, you probably won't keep up with it because you're just not designed that way. Nobody is, and especially if you have any kind of village life, family, you're dependent on other people. Again, for new listeners, this is a big thing that I'm always going back to, is that so many of these lifestyle gurus, Lex Friedman, Andrew Huberman, Tim Ferriss, none of them have kids. Lex doesn't, right? Yeah, no, I know Huberman doesn't, and I know Tim Ferriss doesn't. But no, there's no way Lex Friedman has kids. Okay. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. Whatever. The point is, so many of these lifestyle gurus are intentionally living lives that revolve around themselves alone. And I know they do have friends and they do have social commitments, but it's all like it fits very neatly on their Google Calendar. You know, like the time for socializing casually with friends is from 1:15 p.m. to 2:45 p.m. on Tuesday. Village life is the exact opposite of that. If you think of any traditional cultures, especially traditional Catholic cultures, it's so chaotic. It's like, well, now my aunt stopped by. She has a new soup that she wants me to try. And now she's crying about my wayward cousin who she's upset about. And, now my uncle needs help. And now, so my nieces and nephews are over here. And it's village life is when your life is inextricably connected to other people in ways that you can't perfectly control. In that kind of life, you are not going to be able to do your perfect atomic habits because it'll be like, oh, well, this was, my 5 a.m. prayer and meditation time. And then I'm going to do my, whatever, my perfect read about jump rope time or whatever. But then if you're living any kind of village life, it's like, well, my kids got sick last night. Or, one of my teens got really upset and had a mental crisis. And I was up till 2:00 in the morning talking to them. And I have a really busy day. I have parent-teacher meetings. I have all these things going on. And it doesn't make sense for me to get up earlier than I have to tomorrow because I need sleep. I have a busy day. The 5 a.m. perfect habit is not going to happen. And so, there's a reason why so many of these perfect habit lifestyle gurus, they have designed their entire lives to revolve around just themselves because that's the only way you can perfectly keep up with habits with your own willpower. So what I would recommend as you think about your goals is think about the result that you would like. So if you would like to be stronger or whatever, think about that and accept that you will need to be scrappy about how you get there. So for 6 weeks, it might be the gym. And then for 4 weeks after that, it might be Walmart. And then for 3 weeks after that, it might be jail because, maybe the Walmart changed their rules but the prisons have, they have gyms. And then for a few weeks after that, you need to read about jump roping. And then and what happens because our culture is so dominated by these guys who have just tailored their lives around, being able to perfectly control their schedule. What happens for us normal people is, you try to do the Andrew Huberman life or whatever. And then you feel really guilty about the fact that you can't keep up with it. And guilt and shame are very demotivating things. They are very energy deflating things. They have their place, if you stabbed someone recently, depending on who it was, you should feel guilty about it. If it was like my arch enemy, probably had it coming, if we're being honest. But I'm not saying that no one should ever feel guilt or shame about anything, but it is definitely the kind of emotion that saps your energy. It saps your joy. It saps your hope. It can even negatively impact your relationship with God if done poorly. And so what happens is people will make a commitment. They think that they can be like the productivity gurus because the productivity gurus make it sound like, well, if you just had enough willpower, this would work. and then it doesn't work. And then you just feel like it changes your identity. That's what hit the great insight. Sounded finally. I got there. I knew I'd get there. It changes your identity. That's what it is. When you're following advice that doesn't really work for someone who's living a real life like you are, it will eventually change how you see yourself, and you will start to see yourself as an ineffective person. You will start to have self-talk along the lines of, I never finish what I start. I always say I'm going to, and I never do. And I never do. I'm an ineffective person. I start projects and I don't finish them. And then that becomes your identity. And there is a lot of really, really, really interesting work out there, a lot of evidence about how the way our lives play out largely flow from identity, largely flow from how we perceive ourselves. So, if someone, for example, perceives themselves like I'm a loser, I'll never have money, I'm a poor person, that's just who I am, they could win the lottery and they would find a way to lose it over a matter of months, because so many of our subconscious decisions flow from who we perceive ourselves to be. So, to take it back to hating on the podcast bros, which is truly, like, it just gives me life. It just fuels so much of my being.
It's been a while.
I know. It's we've missed this. Have we not?
Yes.
We have missed this. This used to be every episode. Cancer has taken so much from our lives. Like, that's how you know how hard it's been. I have not hated on the podcast bros in like 3 months. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. We're back. It erodes your identity when you're trying to do this advice that only podcast bros can execute, because they have completely isolated lives. And then you start operating from that identity. You have this subconscious self-talk that you don't even hear. You don't even realize it's there, but it's just kind of echoing in the back of your mind. Like, yeah, I just don't finish. One more thing I'm going to say I'm going to do and then not follow through with. When really, you're doing a great job. I mean, the fact that you kept up with your gym membership for 2 weeks just through your own willpower doing this really hard thing is honestly amazing. And the more you can reject those identity eroding beliefs and understand that you're simply living in a system that the human brain was not evolved to deal with, then you can start doing some positive identity reinforcing things. Here's what I mean. So let's say it's New Year's, you've started your gym membership, great. Rather than telling yourself, I'm keeping up with this forever, you'll say, I'm going to keep up with this as long as I can. Hopefully we can get a few months. We'll see how it goes. And then when things taper off, life gets crazy, you haven't been going to the gym, whatever amount of time you were able to do it, you give yourself credit for that. Hey, honestly, like your body wasn't designed to do that for one day. So if you got 15 days out of it, good for you. Congratulations. And then you go back and you say, okay, maybe the novelty of doing something new will fuel me to get to this goal. I have the vision of being a stronger person. So maybe now I could try, if you're one of my billionaire listeners, you could just like go get a Peloton or get, have a home gym installed or whatever. So you can try that. And you just accept that. And you use every time you need to switch to a different method of reaching your goal, you use it to build up your identity. And again, say like, wow, that is amazing that I hit the gym fairly consistently for 2 months. Incredible. But the novelty's wearing off. So now I need to think of something new now to keep going on to my strength goals in a way that might keep me more motivated. And just think about how that changes how you see yourself. Rather than that, man, I'm always quitting. I'm a quitter. Just being like, no, I'm just a normal person who's doing my best in unnatural circumstances. And we'll just try something new. Just see how it goes. That second mentality, it's more truth based. It is based on the truth rather than Podcast Bro Lies. Oh, it just feels so good to be back. I love it. It's just so amazing. It's based on the truth, and it just hear how that just fuels you with so much more hope and energy, and kind of just makes you realize that you're actually a good, normal person doing a great job. You just need different motivations than what the podcast bros have been giving you. So that's it. I think this is a good place to end. I have some other points about the stress that, not living in the village life that we were designed for can cause, but we will get to that in another episode, because every episode is a new opportunity to hate on podcast bros. And it's good to be back. Thank you for joining us. Again, the Patreon is patreon.com/thisisjen. At the end of each episode, we roll straight into the after party where I keep talking after the episode ends. And I have some fun stuff to say there. I'm going to put some other stuff up on the Patreon soon. And I will be back with you, hopefully, next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.